Okay, now I am live on freaking YouTube. Hooray!
Hello.
Yeah, we should be live. We're live now. What I didn't do before, there was a lot go live button on Streamyard I needed to click on,
Aha.
but
I
it
see.
should have done it automatically. I don't know what is going on. I don't know what the hell is going
Okay.
on.
Well, you've got it. You've got it now.
Okay. Well, I've
Is
got
it all?
4 likes on Facebook, but there's only one person watching. So now there was like 2 people watching earlier, so I don't know what the hell is going on.
Okay.
So, so you said you had some more toys you wanted to show.
Yeah, I picked up a couple more things this week. The first thing I'll show you is this, which is the McFarlane DC Multiverse Two-Face as Batman. So
Okay,
it's actually
I thought that was Spider-Man at first.
no, it's difficult for me to show because of the glare from my light, but it's actually Two-Face as Batman.
Oh, okay. Now I can see. I can see the Two
Yeah,
Face. It's a Two-Face
yeah,
Batman.
yeah. It's pretty cool. I thought he looked quite unusual, so I thought I'd pick him up because I'm quite into this um, McFarlane DC multiverse at the moment. I think they're doing some really good stuff. So I thought I'd
Okay.
pick up this Batman. Um, yeah, I thought he was pretty cool. So that was the first thing that I got this week. I also picked up a glow in the dark Ghostbusters um, thing. This is this was a builder figure that was released with the Mattel Classics Ghostbusters several years ago. Um, but I never got all 4 Ghostbusters in the box. I only managed to get Peter and Ray. I couldn't get hold of Winston or Egon at a sensible price. Um, so I ended up buying them all loose, and then I bought this separately not too long ago. Um, so that's a glow in the dark builder figure that I do like something that glows in the dark. Um, I'm a bit of a sucker for glow in the dark stuff, so I was really happy to get hold of that.
So does he glow all green in the dark, or?
Yeah, yeah. Um, I can't really show you now because I've got all the lights on, but yeah, he glows up sort of green coloured. Um, but he's pretty cool. Um, so yeah, I can see him at night when I turn all the lights off because I have him on the bookshelf in my bedroom. Um, so yeah, that's pretty cool. And I did want the builder figure um, from the from the ones that I bought, but like I said, I didn't manage to get all of them. So um, yeah, I picked this up separately, but I'm quite happy to have that. I've got quite a few glow in the dark things. I always liked glow in the dark. When I was a kid, I was a complete sucker for anything that glowed in the dark, whether it was toys or stickers or whatever it might have been. Um, and I still like glow in the dark stuff today. So that was quite cool. Um, Another thing that arrived this morning actually is the Playmobil Back to the Future Marty's Jeep. Um, because I found this for a really good price on eBay. So I thought I'd pick that up. It's the Jeep from um, from Marty's. I think it's from 1985 or whatever the year was that Marty had his Jeep. It's quite a simple set. There's only 35 pieces in there, so there's not too much going on.
Okay.
It's fairly basic, and actually the scale isn't quite right, because when you stand the figures next to the Jeep, they don't, their heads are very low. It comes with a here with a Biff Tannen, who from the end of the film where he's cleaning Marty's Jeep, and he comes with a rag and a bottle of spray. But yeah, the scale isn't quite right when you stand the figures next to the Jeep. But like I said, I got this for a really good price, so I decided to pick that one up as well.
Oh, we got some people in the chat. Kat is saying hello, MB.
Oh, hello,
and then
Kat.
Luke Reynolds is in the chat.
Hello, Luke.
So if either of you guys want to come on camera, Streamyard link is in the chat.
So yeah, what else did I get? I got this a couple of weeks ago actually, but I haven't shown it on the channel yet.
Oh, sweet!
It's the Playmobil.
So do you have
Mystery Machine.
Shaggy? Do you have Shaggy and Velma and Scooby to go with?
Yep, got all of them. I've got Daphne and Fred in the front,
Okay.
and I've got Velma and Shaggy and Scooby all in the back. You can't really, if I open it, you can see Scooby peeking his head out.
Okay, well, thanks for coming by, Luke Reynolds. Thanks for stopping by.
Thanks, Luke. So yeah, this is a really good set. I bought it loose, but it is 100% complete. It comes with various accessories and stuff, and it's got lights in the back. There's a unit that you can switch on, and it lights up. It's not very easy to see because it's right in the back of the vehicle, so it's a bit strange that they included a light feature when it's right on the inside. If I turn it on, you can probably see inside there.
Well, we're doing great, Kat. At least I'm doing great seeing the Scooby-Doo toys. I don't know how Monkeyboy is feeling right now. Are you feeling great, Monkeyboy?
Yeah, I'm feeling good. I'm feeling good.
Oh, and
so yeah,
Luke has a question for you.
Okay.
But before I go, please ask Monkeyboy how he likes the head sculpts on the Playmobil figures, laughing out loud.
Yeah, Luke and I were chatting yesterday, and I was saying, well, let's backtrack a little bit. I've got a bit of a confession to make. I did something yesterday that I'm not very proud of. So I think I've got a bit of confession to do.
Okay.
So yesterday, I'm afraid I went out and I bought a couple of Funko Pops.
Yeah, and retro blasting, he would sock those. He cannot stand those.
I know. I'm not a fan of Funko Pops, I must say, and I've avoided it up until now. But my local toy shop had a sale on, and they were selling this Cad Bane for £7, and I do like Cad Bane.
Hello. I have some stuff that I'd like to show off. First of all,
hey.
Here's this 1992 RC Thomas. I lost that controller to it, but somehow it can still move and work. If I put batteries in this, it will move. There is problems with one gear that I keep on trying to fix, which kind of just blocks, which is easy to disconnect for some reason, but it's really easy to fix.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure this is pretty vintage and rare. I don't see much people use this, but this goes on for cheap for some reason.
Yeah, I think those were more of a 90s thing.
Yeah, this is a 90s thing. But some stuff from the 90s and 2000s are incredibly rare, surprisingly. Okay. Just like this 1998 Thomas. This sadly is not rare, but it is vintage.
Oh. Oh, cool.
But this is from the 2000s, yet I don't see this anywhere anymore. Is this Pablo?
Is that a penguin?
Yeah, it's a penguin. It's a penguin animatronic.
Oh,
it was sold around 2004 and like kind of discontinued around like 2008.
Ah.
Yeah, it is strange to see like some rare stuff at Value Village, because I did get these two at Value Village, but for some reason I got this from my school. Like they had this like thrift store kind of, and I managed to get this before it gets sold out.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So yeah, I do have some of these rare things. Thank you for allowing me to share them with you guys.
No worries. No worries. Yeah, that joke from Luke was basically I was saying that I didn't like Funko Pops because all the heads look the same. And then Luke came back immediately and said, "Well, hang on a minute, you like Playmobil and they're all the same." I said, "Yeah, you got me there. You got me there, to be fair. I can't argue with that logic." So
yeah. Kind of the same thing with Wooden Railway.
Say again?
Like, I'm not the biggest fan of Funko Pops, and yet basically Wooden Railway, they're kind of all the same. Like, I like collecting the same type of Thomas over and over and over, despite them being practically the same.
Right. Was Thomas the Tank Engine shown in the States at the same time as the UK, or did you get it years later?
Well, me being born in 2008, I saw it like instantly, but it actually took like 6 years till Thomas and Friends was in the United States and Japan, because it took Finding Time Station in 1989 on PBS.
Okay. Okay.
But Thomas the Tank Engine was made in 1998. No, not 1998. I mean 1984.
Okay. Yeah. Do you have any of the other engines, or is it just Thomas?
Oh, I have multiple. I have Percy, Gordon, James. I have some of the more recent engines like Carly. What others do I have? I also have Duke. Stepney. Donald. I have Donald. I have Bill and Ben.
Cool.
And I have loads of track and sets.
Okay.
And I also do collect the DVDs. I'm looking for VHSs because I do have a VHS player, but I don't have any Thomas and Friends VHSs to play, sadly.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you'd have to go on eBay probably to get some.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't remember watching Thomas the Tank Engine when I was younger. It was definitely on, but I didn't like the fat controller. He put me off. I didn't mind the trains, but I just didn't like the
fat controller.
Yeah.
So Tom Hart. He is a funny character. When I was watching him, he was a weird character. But now he's kind of like a living meme.
Yeah.
But yeah, I see your point, because like in like one of the earliest episodes, like episode 3, Sir Topham Hatt, for a punishment, locked Henry in a tunnel because he didn't want to stay out to like keep his paint dry.
Oh. Okay.
Yeah, but
Something.
What's going on?
Something's going on.
Yeah, something is going on. Like someone's in this, yet they're not in it. I don't know. I just hear someone else saying hello. It ain't from me. I don't have anyone else near me.
Okay.
This is strange.
Well, there's a few people in the chat and YouTube. I only see 3. There's just 3 of us in the studio. I don't see anybody else in Streamyard.
Okay, this is like paranormal.
This is some haunted live stream.
This is the haunted live stream, yes. Wait, the mystery gang has to save us. They'll find any random ghost or monster. If not, we'll need Luigi.
Yeah, well, maybe we can get Scooby on the scene. He can find out what's going on.
Yeah. Zoink, Scoob! This live stream's haunted!
What are we gonna do?
Reggie! Green's runting!
Quality.
Yeah.
So what part of the states are you from, dude?
I'm from Canada.
Oh, you're in Canada.
Sorry, I apologize.
I was wondering, because you're born in 2008, you would be 15, but...
I'm from December. I'm 14.
Oh, okay, because you said 2008, so
Yeah.
I did the math on a calculator. I assumed you were already 15.
It's strange how a 14-year-old can collect such rare items.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
I think with the internet, just about anybody could collect rare stuff. You just have to go to eBay to find it. Or you have to go, maybe Etsy.
Etsy. Well, I got most of my stuff from Value Village. I don't shop online. I do huntings at Value Village. I got some really good stuff. And really amazing DVDs. I got some vintage Bob the Builder DVDs.
Okay.
Wow. So you really like the sort of British animation type stuff?
Yes, yes. Like stuff like Wallace and Gromit, Bob the Builder, Tom Tank Engine, Pangu, stuff like that. I like the most.
Okay. Fireman Sam?
Fireman Sam is amazing.
Wow. Cool.
Yeah. You know, it's kind of sad how, like, Scooby-Doo kind of got ruined with the newest show, Velma.
Yeah, I didn't like the new Scooby stuff.
Yeah, I don't...
Yeah, no one likes the new Velma show.
She got her own show.
Yeah, she got her own show where she's like...
She got her own spin-off where, like, she basically makes fun of the people who watches the show, and yet does everything that that bad shows does.
Oh. No.
Okay.
No.
So they basically make fun of you for even tuning in to even see Velma.
Okay.
And for some reason they made Shaggy black? That's strange. I'm black myself, so like I'm just confused because like I'm used to Shaggy kind of just being white.
Yeah. So they really messed with it.
White.
Yeah, like if you change a character design from a character that's been loved and never changed from like since the 60s, why change it now?
Yeah.
They just want to push diversity as a thing. They just want to put. They just feel like other ethnicities and other races are just underrepresented.
Yeah, like I'm okay if you can make a new character. Like with Tom's the Tank Engine, like they need more females, so they pushed in Nia and Rebecca. Yeah, I am sad that Edward and Henry were kicked out, but at least they didn't change like a character we knew and loved into a random female character that we don't know. And that's what they're kind of doing with Velma. But yet again, Velma doesn't even take their own diversity seriously.
Yeah.
Okay.
They're extremely kind of racist in ways.
Yeah.
Oh. I was quite disappointed in it's only a little thing, but it really kind of got to me. In the new Flash movie, Supergirl has got short dark hair instead of long blonde hair. That really bothered me. Because Supergirl should be a blonde, really. I mean, I don't know why they had to change the look of the character so drastically. I mean, you wouldn't suddenly make Superman a blonde guy, would you?
Yeah. Oh, that would be weird.
Back in the 70s, Kathy Lee Crosby was the first Wonder Woman on TV, and she was a blonde, so she looked more like Supergirl.
Oh, okay.
And I had to ask my dad, okay, Dad, when you were younger, did Wonder Woman have dark hair, or was she a blonde? And he told me, well, she had dark hair. So I had to be sure after seeing that.
Right.
And then there was Linda Carter playing Wonder Woman, which looked more like the comic book than the cartoon.
Yeah. Linda Carter will always be Wonder Woman to me. I do like Gal Gadot or Gal Gadot, however you say it. I do like her in the role, but for me, Wonder Woman will always be Linda Carter.
Yeah, I see. Yeah, Linda Carter's live action Wonder Woman, and then I remember the Super Friends cartoons from the 70s and 80s, and there was like, I don't know, 2 or 3 different actresses voicing her.
Oh.
That was weird.
Hmm.
That was
You know,
really weird.
something that I don't get is, like, with the original Thomas the Tank Engine, like, they had U.S. narrators and U.K. narrators. Oh my god, I cannot speak today.
Oh, okay. Well, because Ringo Starr from the Beatles, he narrated the British version.
Yeah, he narrated season 1 and 2 before he got... He narrated for actually both seasons before getting replaced by Michael Angelis and Michael Angelis and... Oh my god, I forgot the comedian's name.
Don't know.
Oh my god. There was a comedian... George Carlin.
Oh, really?
And George Carlin.
Yeah, George Carlin.
He's dead.
Narrated season 3 and 4. Well, Michael Angelis actually, in the UK dub, stayed until season 16 of Thomas the Tank Engine, so he's the longest narrator, I guess.
Okay.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Huh.
And then two of my favorites, Alec Baldwin and Michael Brandon.
Okay.
For season 5 and 6, and wait.
What
Did
was
anyone
that
else
sound?
hear that chicken?
Is that a cat?
I thought it was a chicken.
I thought it was like somebody's cat.
Some random squawking noise.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was strange.
Sorry about that. But, like, back to, like, the, like, changings of characters. Have you heard of the WWE?
Mm-hmm.
Like, wrestling.
Yes.
Like, there's some changes that I guess I'm okay with. Like, The Undertaker going from, the dead man to the American Badass.
Okay. So
I loved his, like, badass persona, in my opinion. It's better than the dead man.
I can't believe he's still going. The Undertaker was wrestling when I was a kid. I can't believe that he's still...
Yeah, he actually did retire in 2020, I'm pretty sure.
Okay.
Yeah, same thing with, like, Triple H. Randy Orton might have to be forced to retire because of a neck injury.
Okay.
Ric Flair's still going at it. He's still wrestling.
No.
He is. In fact, out of people from Evolution, like, people who just started wrestling in, like, 2002, so, like, they're still kind of young and able to, wrestle. Batista's gone and moved to acting. Triple H is, like, basically the co-owner of WWE, so he retired. Randy Orton has an injury, and Ric Flair's still going at it. He's still wrestling. So he's the oldest member of Evolution who had the latest match.
Wow. Ric Flair must be like 65 or 70 or something.
Yeah, like, he's in his 70s and he's still doing it. You know who was technically still wrestling? Shawn Michaels.
Really?
Yeah. He was kind of, like, forced to retire because of, like, a storyline in, like, 2010. He versed The Undertaker. It was, like, streak versus career match.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
Wait, have you heard of Stone Cold?
Mm-hmm.
Steve Austin?
Yeah, Stone Cold Steve Austin. He came out of retirement, actually. versus Kevin Owens.
This is crazy. They need like their own geriatric kind of version of it. That's crazy.
But one change I did not like with the WWE, there's this one guy called Chavo Guerrero.
Mm-hmm.
He's like a Mexican wrestler. He's brother of Eddie Guerrero. Rest in peace. And before Eddie sadly, unexpectedly died, they wanted to change Chavo's character to a racist guy called Kerwin White.
Oh.
Yeah, straight up. The Ruthless Aggression era was crazy. They had like this one guy who pretended to be like special ed for like a story for like storylines. I'm pretty sure.
Really?
Yeah, wrestling was weird back then.
Wow. I never used to really watch a lot of wrestling. I mean, I can remember Hulk Hogan and the Ultimate Warrior and the Undertaker. People like that, but I didn't really get into it as a kid, not so much.
Yeah, I didn't really get into it as much. It was something my brothers were more into.
Yeah.
So what are you saying, Tim? Have you got anything new this week? Any more DVDs or anything since I last spoke to you?
No more DVDs, but I went to Dollar Tree the other day and I bought 2 of their exclusive Final Faction figures. I got one female character, Shift. She's a female ninja, and then I got one of this one. I think this is one of the bad guys.
Wow.
Group.
Wow. And now tell me, is Dollar Tree, is everything inside $1?
Well, it's long story. It used to be 98-cent clearance center when I was a teenager, and then I think they went up cents, and then for the longest time it was Dollar Tree where everything was $1. Now everything, even though it's called Dollar Tree, everything costs $1.25 now.
Yep.
So,
Yeah. Oh, I hate that.
I call it Dollar Tree quarter leaf, but then I actually talked to a cashier who said there are some products that are $5 a pop.
Really?
Yeah.
Because we have a similar.
$4.
We have a store in the UK. We have a store called Poundland, and everything in there used to be £1, but now you go in there and there are things that are more expensive. So, yeah,
I think it's just
a
a matter of the post-pay.
But you know what's strange? There is actually stuff that are $1 in this one like pawn shop. Like, there's like DVDs, which are like $1 each. So like that's incredible.
Yeah.
So, where I know I just jumped into the conversation and just want to make sure I can pick up where it was left off. Like, where are you right now? I know we talked about people in certain roles. Am I? Because I'm listening and I'm working kinda. So it's just make sure I can insert my 2 cents if I can. But if not, I'll just...
Yeah, well, we were kind of talking about how characters have changed, and then we...
Yeah, and it's kind of controversial. Like, controversial changes, like, it could be, like, someone with different hair playing a character. Like, when a character is recognizable, you can't have another person with different, like, things playing the character, in my opinion.
Yeah. Yeah, that Supergirl thing really got to me because I'm a really big Supergirl fan. I've got hundreds of Supergirl comics. I've got some fairly good Supergirl figures. There aren't that many actually, but I'm a really big fan of the character. And to see her with short, dark hair, it was really disappointing. I was so looking forward to seeing the character. I mean, I liked her scenes in the movie. I didn't dislike the scenes, or I didn't dislike the movie, but she just didn't look right. I mean, I wanted to see her with long blonde hair. I can understand removing the skirt and having her in this modern kind of suit that all the superheroes seem to have nowadays. I can understand that to a degree. And I know Supergirl in the TV series that was done a few years ago. It started off with her in a skirt, and then she changed to the bodysuit, which I can get that, but she was still blonde. I don't know why they had to be all woke and give this new Supergirl a short kind of. I mean, I'm amazed she wasn't transgender, quite frankly.
It's almost as though it's kind of like, and this is what I make about certain parts of society without going into those parts of society, but it's almost like people coming out of the closet. Again, I'm just using that phrase because there is a sense of people are being shoved in closets, and then they get out of the closet and they shove the others into closets. And so you would think that people would think about certain notions. Now it's almost like the joke about, as far as I can get from all the content I've consumed over the last month, that Kathleen Kennedy has a thing for brunettes and especially British ones. I suppose there's a counterculture against the blondes, if you get my drift. If we're using the, I guess you call it the brunette swap for the blonde swap in Supergirl, it's. I'm trying to think of a character. I don't know. It's interesting because people forget that there have been some precedents set by other series of content released over the however many decades. I don't know how many years ago the Whitney Houston Brandy collaboration Cinderella, which I now dub a musical now that I think about it. I only watched it once. I don't think I watched it a second time if it re-aired. But apparently no one had a problem. There wasn't any kind of backlash about Brandy being cast as Cinderella and Whitney Houston as the fairy godmother. And apparently Prince Charming was some Asian dude who's, I don't know if he starred in anything else since. And I think the dad was James Earl Jones. I don't remember. I guess we can Google that real quickly, but there was a rendition of Cinderella done by Brandy and Whitney Houston, and it had an interesting cast. But no one was going up in arms about that. So it's like, why are they reinventing the wheel of representation when there have been many, many precedents set before what we are getting today?
Yeah.
I do find it odd that people feel the need to be represented. Like, my joke is, well, I'm probably going to, if I were to be, quote, woke, and I were to watch Cinderella, not Cinderella, but Barbie, I might just have to watch it for Simu Liu, who's apparently this, I don't know where he stands really in the eyes of Hollywood and the populace everywhere. He's just a dude I remember seeing on some Netflix comedy, and that was that. I didn't watch Shang-Chi, and I don't know if I'm going to watch Shang-Chi because I don't know what kind of movie they were trying to put together with Shang-Chi. Me being a martial artist, I don't care too much for the phantasmic style of martial arts scenes that are depicted nowadays. So if people were to say, does Simu Liu represent me? No, he does not.
My mom was watching one of those Shang-Chi movies on Freeform recently. It was it wasn't in English, so it was subtitled in English. So it just seemed like just a typical martial arts movie from overseas. It didn't feel like an American movie at all.
Wait, sorry to interrupt you guys, but have you seen the new Spider-Man movie?
I kind of refusing on principle, but I guess if I was really desperate to be entertained, I might go out and watch that. In comparison,
Across the Spider-Verse is one of the best in animation, in my opinion. Like, just the best animated movie of 2023.
But that's the thing. That's why I and Tim Hayes. I'm just trying to make sure I connect the dots. You also moderate Retro Blasting, right?
No, I'm not a moderator for Retro Blasting.
Okay.
But I know who Retro Blasting is, and I'm on his Patreon, but I'm not.
Right.
I'm not one of their mods. That you're thinking of Timothy Ward is the one.
Oh God. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, he moderates it.
So as far as movie going goes, and he put out a very good angle in how to evaluate movies. You gotta have to look at it objectively as much as you can.
Yes.
And so, I forget the guy's name already. He somehow dropped, but he was talking about Across the Spider-Verse being the best in animation. Well, that's great. Not everyone's taste in animation aesthetic is going to be different. That's one angle of a movie. If we're talking about animated movies, I got to look at this story, got to look at the voice acting. Like, I saw the Mario Brothers movie, and actually was hesitant because all the hoopla about Chris Pratt doing the voice of Mario. And then I don't know if I saw it right away, but I didn't know Seth Rogen had a role. I think if it was such that I did see his name in the clippings, the press clippings, I was almost like doubling down on my skepticism. But with folks like Jeff from World Class Bullshitters, him saying, go watch it, I'm like, okay, I'll give it a shot. And I've been going to this hole-in-the-wall theater up the street from me, which used to show a lot of retro movies, which only costed like $4 a ticket. But they had to make a business decision, which I get. Thankfully, they survived past COVID, and they actually outlived the Regal that just closed up further down the street. The Regal Theater that was close by me actually closed down, ironically. But anyway, I go to this hole-in-the-wall theater, and they were showing Mario Brothers, and I was pleasantly surprised. You know, I'm glad it was all animated. I just don't. It's almost like, where do you draw the line? Because not everything requires a live-action adaptation. I think there has been other streams commenting that the Japanese do much better when it goes from animated to live action. Like, take the Kenshin series. I remember watching the Kenshin movie as one of my movie packs when I flew over to the Philippines. I watched like 9 hours worth of movies from when I was flying from Seattle to Japan. That's one of the layovers you can do. And so I saw the Kenshin movie. I had friends who were fans of Kenshin back in the day. I didn't care for Kenshin. But I saw the live action of Kenshin, and that was fine. I didn't have any odd reactions, like triggering, like I felt triggered, like this is wrong, this is anathema. Yeah. But when it comes to especially video game ones, there still hasn't been a quality one. Like the Mortal Kombat adaptation from HBO, they were really doing all this hubbub about it. Like, sign up for HBO Max and you get to see Mortal Kombat when you sign up. So I bit the bullet. And for the first 5 minutes, I thought, this might be the one rendition of Mortal Kombat I can buy into. However, the rest of the movie through just made me, why did they have to go that angle? They could have kept it in feudal Japan, for all I care. Because for all I know, Mortal Kombat isn't set. I don't remember any stages being in modern day Earth. In all the stages in the game, I don't see any depictions of Hollywood or anything like that. So you didn't have to tie Earth, the Earth dimension, or even the modern. Well, I think Earth in general but they could have kept the time period to what they started out in. I think it was like 1600 Japan.
Okay.
And it was in all Japanese cast because they were showing Scorpion's quote origin story, but him versus Sub-Zero.
Yeah.
And it's like, I mean, because there was a stream from Midnight's Edge where they were talking about the Ninja Turtle casting. Like, why did they cast Jackie Chan as Splinter? And they were talking about the guy who played Scorpion in Mortal Kombat. I forget his name, but he's everywhere. He was in the John Wick movie, the last one.
Oh, okay.
Did anybody see the last John Wick movie?
Yeah.
He was the head of the Japanese, that guy, if you remember that guy, the guy who ran the Japanese, what is it, the Japanese Continental. That's the actor I'm talking about. So that guy is everywhere. You know, he was there in Last Samurai. I think he was in Memoirs of a Geisha, but he's everywhere. But I'm just saying, in that rendition of Mortal Kombat, the way they set it up, it was like, I'm hooked. I could be hooked. But they just dropped the ball after the 10-minute mark because they like fast forward 400 years.
Oh.
It just made me go, no. And I don't know. I don't know if we'll ever get a good video game adaptation of, and in general, except for Mario Brothers. The movie, the original Ninja Turtles film. I think I'm gonna buy that. I'm gonna find the Blu-ray, 4K, whatever. I'm actually gonna buy it because, to me, that's the quintessential Turtles movie.
Yeah.
I mean, cool. I did watch Secret of the Ooze. I thought, okay, cool. They had Ernie Reyes Jr. I'll talk about representation, you know, like they got an Asian guy. They got an Asian guy in Secret of the Ooze. He had a prominent role. But it's and especially the buzz you get from the media about the Acolyte being a safe space for Black nerds, and that's why I was going to talk about Donnie Yen in Star Wars. I was like, what about the Asian nerds? I didn't care. Like, okay, cool. It's an Asian guy, but that wasn't high in my totem pole. Like, what I would deem a sellable character. Like my thing was Bruce Lee because he looked badass. He was badass.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Not that he was whatever. Like I tell my friends all the time, is like, I just see myself in the mirror and that's who I am. Especially being an immigrant at the age of 1. Like I had no real sense of home. You know, I had my Philippine shirt, and then, you know, having a mother whose dad was from China, I got a Chinese looking shirt. You know, I had all the calligraphy on it. Like, oh, this is cool. And I was just somehow drawn to that. But it wasn't just because, oh, that's who I am. I didn't know that until maybe the 2nd or 3rd grade that, you know, I had this heritage that was apparently mine. Yeah. It didn't like when I watched Star Wars, or the thing that attracted me to the Karate Kid was I was the guy that, you know, I felt like I was the underdog. You know?
Yeah.
And I didn't like, does Ralph Macchio represent you? His character did. Because he was a guy who was picked on. He was a guy who was seen as less than, and he wins and gets the girl.
Yeah.
You know, the story of overcoming.
Mm-hmm.
I don't get it. It's like they're reversing the progress that has already been made. And I just dropped a tip in some other stream that people have to look at they have to look at Bruce Lee's Lost interview, the full version. Because, you know, the story about Bruce Lee and his making of The Warrior, which I don't know why it took so long, but his original plan for it was brought back by Max with the Warrior series. I think that's what he wanted to call. But when he was penning it and he was pitching it to Warner Brothers, well, they gave it to David Carradine and then became Kung Fu.
Yeah.
And then he goes in an interview. It's like he doesn't make an excuse, but he understands why. You know, why he was turned down for that part. And it's like, can't people be happy that that we've gotten far? And I'm just speaking from the Asian milieu, but even growing up, like, I watched a lot of black, what do I call it? Would I call it black centered, or would I call it, I don't know what I would call it. But I watched things like In Living Color. I watched things like The Cosby Show. I watched things like, I think it was, the series was Fat Albert. Saw that.
Oh, yeah.
It didn't matter. It's not like, why aren't there Asians in Mr. Belvedere? Why aren't there Asians in Elf?
Yeah, I don't know.
But it's like, it's interesting because I was watching Midnight Edge's stream on He-Man and all the hubbub that's surrounding that project. Like, apparently it's getting canned, but they've already screwed the pooch on. You know, we talk about changing of the character, or at least in the iterations from Netflix, it's like, I'm not going to watch that if it's not going to be like a throwback to the OG He-Man. But I forget that there is that one that was released in the 2000s. But I think it's because I grew past He-Man. I was into other stuff. Yeah, I'm not the fan I was.
I never saw the New Adventures of He-Man. I hadn't seen any of that. I did see the first part of the Kevin Smith version, Revelation. I watched the first, however many there were in the first part, but I really didn't like it. I kept at it because I kept hoping it would get better, but it didn't. It just seemed to double down on the wokeness. I really didn't like that.
It was woke. It was very woke. So it was not. It wasn't the Filmation cartoon that everybody grew up with. So.
And the biggest crime of it all, guys, is if there is any rolling around the grave or rolling in the grave going on, I think Martin Luther King would really be rolling in his grave. Because they're using very surface level criteria as a means of making a benchmark for representation. Like, there are deeper levels of representation. Like I said about Daniel LaRusso, his character. You know, like I said, I look past people's skin color. My best friend in elementary school was black. I hung out with black dudes in junior high. You know, sometimes it would be like a counter movement to my being around Filipino people so much that I was like, I need to get away from it. On some level, I identify with them for different things. Like, I'm a big football, basketball nut. I may not be the big basketball nut I used to be, because I think 82 games in a season is way too long for me to really be hunkered down and pay attention. And at the same time, like talking about black nerds, like, I had a guy in my computer repair class. He was putting together computers, and but he talked like a guy who was from the streets. It's like, don't try to make a definition that doesn't exist for, quote, black or even Asian nerds. Like, my quip about the Asian representation is like, thank God they cast Donnie Yen in Rogue One and make him, because if I were to say that who represents us well, I would say, okay, maybe Donnie Yen. Yen, when it comes to, like, if you want to really put that as your criteria for representation in a nerd context. Okay, but I would say the OG nerd, OG Agent Nerd was. See, I don't even know, because for me, I look at the character depiction. I don't know these actors' names, right?
Yeah.
Like, I didn't know who Short Round was. I just looked at the guy, and like when I watched the Goonies when I was a kid, it's like that guy was cool, because why? He was resourceful. He had these little gadgets.
Yeah.
I can remember the chattering teeth. He used this like a grappling hook of sorts. That was cool. It's like,
yeah.
Do I need to feel like? Can Goonies be considered a nerd film? I can, on some level, say, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's just funny. It's like, do you not watch the movies over 4 decades worth of movies from the 80s on? Yeah. I watch.
Yeah.
I watch anything. Eddie Murphy, Chris Rock. You know, that's why I loved South Park at the time, because no one was safe. I don't know about watching South Park nowadays, because I think when I flip the channel on something I was subscribed to at the time, I'm like, it's getting ridiculous. I love South Park for what it was, but I think there might be a time for it to end.
Yeah, I haven't watched that for a long time.
What's that?
I saw the first few seasons, but after that I kind of got a bit bored with it, and they were referencing stuff that I didn't really understand, because I don't watch TV,
Right.
and I don't keep up on current events or world events, so they were referencing people and situations that I had no knowledge of, so it was kind of wasted on me.
Yeah. Hey guys, I'm gonna drop off because I'm gotta get to work.
Okay. Well,
no,
thanks for joining us, Lester.
Hey, no, it's fun chatting with you guys. I'm gonna stay listening. I'm gonna stay on the stream listening to you guys, but I'm gonna hunker down and get to work.
Okay.
Okay, nice to meet you, dude.
Hey, nice to meet you guys.
Yeah,
right,
thanks for joining us, Lester.
All right, bye-bye.
See ya.
And now Tree Theodore is in the chat.
Hey, hello, Tree. I'm trying to work out how to wave into the camera. I'm not really. Hey, there we go. Cool. Yeah, it's interesting how sort of the media and sort of current pop culture has changed, and it's all very it's also self-aware now, and everyone is so careful about what they're saying. It's almost, I mean, it's so, people are trying so hard to be inclusive that it actually makes it restrictive.
Yes, I agree. Way too restrictive.
I mean, I'm not saying that I want, that I want it the same as it was in the 70s, with, exploitation, racism, sexism, and this sort of thing. I mean, I'm not saying that I want that back, because that's clearly progress has been made, and that's a good thing. But it just seems that everyone is being so careful these days not to offend anybody that they're actually not entertaining anymore. Everything has become so sanitized and so wrapped up in cotton wool to make sure that no one can possibly be offended by it. It's just taken the edge off of a lot of things, and things are so rounded off and smooth now that they're just not entertaining. It's hard to get a good feel for character, for plot, for these sorts of things, because everyone is so worried about getting cancelled.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I heard about that Tree Theodore, the live action Snow White, and I I was not happy with the photos I saw. It just
Oh, are they doing another version?
yeah, they're doing a live action version, and what the photos I saw, the cast did not look that great. It
Okay. So is this like a live action version of the Disney?
yes, it's a live action of the Disney, and I think they're having a black girl play Snow White. And then
Okay.
the seven dwarves, I think one or two of them are black girls.
Okay.
So they've got two female.
And presumably they're not dwarves either.
No. I think they had like some of these people looked way too tall to be dwarves.
Right.
I think they had like one person that looked like a midget playing a dwarf. And
And is the Wicked
costume.
Witch been changed into a guy?
I haven't seen any pictures of the Wicked Queen yet.
It wouldn't surprise me if they made that into a male character so they could take a poke at the patriarchy.
I don't think they will. With the way they're doing everything, they push a lot of females. They'll push females, and they'll push black women, and they'll push a bunch of unlikable female characters using actresses that are either unattractive, or if they're attractive, they will make them look as ugly as possible.
Right. Okay. Yeah, I haven't really. I've noticed a lot more women in prominent roles, which is fine. I mean, I'm all for that. I've got no problem with that. It's just it's the character development that I have an issue with. It just seems to be very, superficial stuff. There's no meat on anything. It's all very homogenized and sanitized.
Mm-hmm.
But I didn't. I think I was peripherally aware of a Snow White thing, but I didn't know if it was a movie or a TV show or what it was really. But
Yeah,
I don't really.
I think it's going to be just a live action movie like that Little Mermaid live action remake, which I think that got remade just so they could retain the copyright on it.
Oh, okay. Right. Is Kathleen Kennedy involved with all these projects as well, or is it just Star Wars and Indiana Jones that she's got a
Yeah, it's just
piece
the
into?
Lucasfilm stuff she's involved with, I
Oh,
think.
okay.
I don't think she's involved with the actual Disney stuff.
Have you heard anything good about the new Indiana Jones movie?
I don't know what should be considered good. I think there might have been like one or two people that said it. I don't know. There were people that online that either said it was better than Crystal Skull, or they thought Crystal Skull was better, but that's not really saying much.
Right. Yeah, I haven't seen Crystal Skull. I think I told you last time I bought the Crystal Skull on DVD, but the it was a 2-disc, and when I got it home there was only 1 disc inside. There was only the special features, so I haven't actually seen the Crystal Skull.
Yeah.
I wasn't expecting much from it, but I thought, it'll be something just to watch. At least I could say I've seen it, but sadly it
Mm-hmm.
wasn't to be.
Yeah,
From
just
what I can
was not.
understand, it's ridiculous, but yeah, don't know.
I don't know.
So, have you watched any movies in the past week?
Not any full movies. I've watched little bits of movies because I put together MP4 video files for my friend's streaming channel, Cult TV A Go Go, so I watched little bits of The Devil Bat starring Bela Lugosi, and then I watched little bits of The Vampire Bat, which is another classic horror film. And then, but I think those were both movies I've seen before, and then Alibaba and the Seven Saracens I put on Cult TV once before, so I'm familiar with that. And then can't remember that other movie. There's one other movie on Cult TV. I always make sure that there's 2 double features a week on there. Can't remember the name of that other movie. I'd have to look it up. Because I just can't think of it right now. What was that other movie? Shoot. Yeah, if I can. Yeah, I'd have to look it up, which I'm trying to do right now, which is not easy. Checking my Facebook to see what I had.
I don't think I've watched anything this week, or last week even. Yeah, I normally try to watch a couple of films a week if I can, but I don't always feel able to sit there and concentrate for a movie. I find that sometimes I get a little bit just a bit too anxious, and I can't finish it. I'll get halfway through the movie and just think I need to get up and do something different, because I just can't kind of sit still and pay attention.
Okay, they don't have Cult TV Go up yet on the Roku, so yeah, I forgot that they always load it onto their Patreon late night on a Tuesday night, so their Patreon members get it first.
Okay.
So, yeah, I don't. You know what? I've got my notebook right in front of me, so I should have it written. I always make sure to write down the list in there, so I could have looked in here. This was right in front of me. See what that other movie was that I had to check. Oh, The Manster. That was that. Yeah, that's the other one. It's a Japanese U.S. co-produced horror film.
Okay, that sounds weird. The Manster.
Yeah, there's this American reporter who goes to Japan, and this Japanese mad scientist injects him. Well, no, first he drugs a drink that causes him to constantly turn into this 2-headed monster that goes about killing, but then near the end he injects him with a serum that breaks off the actual monster half of him, so he returns to normal, and then I think the monster half, I think, kills the mad scientist, and then kills the mad scientist's female assistant.
Okay.
It was just a really short little drive-in movie from 1959, but it didn't get released in the US till 62, but it was released in Japan in 59.
Right. Okay. Huh.
Okay, we got 3 people watching, but there's nobody else in the live chat right now, just I see myself, so guess we've got some lurkers.
I just saw a massive moth. Oh my god, that is enormous.
What?
There's a massive moth. Just give me 1 second. I'm going to capture this moth and release it because it's so
Okay, I
big. I
thought
think.
you saw a moth in my house.
No,
Okay,
it's here.
okay, Lester San Jose. Just wondering why we have 3 people watching, but I didn't see anybody else in the chat.
Yeah, I don't know. Oh, this moth has got away. I am still here. I'm just trying to capture this moth. It might pick me up and fly away with me. It's that big.
Mm-hmm.
I always seem to have some sort of creature. Whenever I do a live stream, there's either a spider or something else.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, this is massive. I think this is the biggest moth I've ever seen. Oh, it just hit me in the head.
Careful.
Oh my god. It is so
Careful.
big.
Be careful.
I think I'm just going to have to whack it, you know. I don't think I can catch it.
Yeah, I don't know anything about that, Lester San Jose. That's news to me. I hadn't heard that before, so I don't know.
Right, I've nearly got it. I am still here.
Yeah. I'm just checking emails. Okay, now I'm back to Streamyard and YouTube. I guess it'll be okay, Lester San Jose. I mean, I would think that would be better than that other one that got made about Cleopatra recently, where they tried to make her black.
Got it. I got the moth. All right, just give me 1 second.
Okay.
Cool. Sorry about that, Tim. There's always some wildlife whenever I do a live stream. I've had 2 streams now where an enormous spider has come running across the floor and I've had to deal with it. And then there was that moth. Crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm glad it wasn't a spider. Ugh.
Yeah, that's good that it wasn't.
Oh, yeah, that would really freak me out if it was another spider. I really can't cope with those.
Yeah, that would be annoying. But Lester San Jose, he's listening, and he mentioned in the chat he saw something where Gal Gadot is going to play Cleopatra in an upcoming film, and he's asking for our thoughts on it.
Oh, okay. Oh, well, that's interesting. I quite like her as an actress. And she's got quite a good look. I think, depending on how they, on the costumes and stuff. But I think she'll look the part. I'll have to look that up though. I hadn't heard of that happening. I'll look into that. Yeah, cool.
So,
I knocked that moth out of the air with my massive fish. Look at my massive fish.
Massive fish. And I guess Ono or whatever his name was in Canada, I guess his internet went out or something. He tried to get back in when Lester was here, and then something happened.
Oh. It was interesting that he was really into quite old vintage British animation stuff. That was quite interesting.
Yeah, well, he's just a teenager. I mean, I was into like Doctor Who probably when I was his age.
Right, yeah. Yeah. No, it was interesting, and he probably knows more about it than I do.
Yeah, well, here in the States, that tank engine show would always come on public broadcasting station that would show Sesame Street, Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood.
I watched an episode of Sesame Street a couple of days ago. It was one that that got pulled by the network because it featured the Wicked Witch of the West from what's the Wizard of Oz.
Yeah, that was a classic one. And
yeah,
I remember at least one episode where they had C-3PO and R2-D2 on it, but I don't know if you can find the full show or any of the clips.
Oh wow. Okay,
but I remember them being on it, but I don't know if you can find any clips from that left.
Okay, I'll have a look for that. I watched the Wicked Witch one because
that showed up on YouTube.
I read somewhere that it got pulled because there were complaints from parents that it was too scary for their children. So I thought, oh well, I'll see if I can seek that out and watch it.
And then
quite good.
There was, I think, a few back in the 70s where they had the one Native American folk singer. Yeah, she's American Indian, but she lives in Canada. Buffy St. Marie. She had been on Sesame Street I think back in the 70s. And there was one where they actually showed her breastfeeding her son.
You're joking.
I'm not kidding. This was either back in the late 70s or early 80s. Wow. Big Bird was asking her what she was doing, and she said, "Oh, I'm feeding my son." So she was breastfeeding her baby son on air.
Wow, that's crazy.
I remember finding the clip on YouTube.
Wow.
I don't think you could see her breasts, but you could pretty much guess what she was doing.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, that's bizarre. Sesame Street was a good show, actually. And they did thousands and thousands of them, didn't they?
Yeah, but so many of the actors have died over the years. Bob died, and then Louis died, and then Maria, I think, whose real name is Sonia, I think she retired from it, but she's still alive, and I think most of the adult actors from that show either retired or they just died.
Right, right.
I know Mr. Hooper was the first one who died unexpectedly.
Right, I can remember him. And I think I can remember Lewis, maybe. I definitely remember Mr. Hooper.
Yeah, Lewis was the one Hispanic guy. He married Maria, but they weren't a couple in real life. and her name was Sonia in real life.
Okay.
And then there was this one guy that took over for Mr. Hooper's store. I think named David, this young black guy, but I found out he died a long time ago. So
Oh, really?
Yeah.
He was the guy in the Wicked Witch episode.
Yeah, he died. I don't know if it was back in the 90s or if it was the early 2000s.
Oh. So what happened to Sesame Street? Did it stop, or is it still going?
I think it's still on, but it's not like what I saw as a kid. It's just, I think they've just...
A lot of the voice actors are probably gone as well, haven't they?
Well, Jim Henson's dead.
Yeah.
He died of cancer, I think, in the late 80s. So, but I think Frank Oz is still alive, but...
Wow.
And I don't know if Jim Henson's son is still alive. I know Jim Henson's son took over for the voice of Kermit, but I don't know if the son is still alive.
Right. Okay. Huh.
And the actor who played Big Bird, I think, died because it was somebody in a costume. It wasn't like a puppet. It was it looked like a puppet, but it was just a tall man in a costume.
Yeah, yeah. Huh.
And I can't remember if Linda is still alive. The one lady that's deaf, she can't hear, so she just does sign language.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
She might still be alive. Yes, Lester, it got very woke. I mean, I was fine with them adding a Muppet that had autism. Since I have mild autism, that I did not mind, but after that, they just kept pushing and pushing so much agenda-driven stuff. It just got disgusting. So I'm kind of glad that I'm an adult now. I don't have any kids because I would not want them watching Sesame Street. I don't like how it's turned out.
Oh, wow. Okay. I don't know if they still do reruns of it.
I don't think they do. Monkeyboy, where you go? What happened?
Don't know.
Yeah, you were buffering for a second.
Yeah. Both windows disappeared from my screen and then came back on. I don't know why.
Okay. Oh, Daniel Tiger took its place. I didn't know Daniel Tiger had his own show. I remember the little hand puppet character from Mr. Rogers and His Land of Make-Believe.
Oh, I don't know that. We didn't have that over here. I don't think we had Mr. Rogers.
Yeah, I'm reading the chat. Lester San Jose mentioned Daniel Tiger took its place. And he's saying, as far as Sesame Street, they were pressing about a Filipino Muppet. Okay, Okay, so Daniel Tiger is an animated show. It's not with the hand puppets. Yeah, I remember in the 90s, I went to San Francisco to all these little stores on Pier 39. I went there with my mom, one of my brothers, and my dad, and there were all these little toy shops, and they had these little replicas of the hand puppets from Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood Land of Make-Believe.
Oh.
So I think you could get the king and the queen, and then I think Daniel the tiger, you could get there was like a replica of his hand puppet.
Okay. I don't know who any of those characters are.
Yeah.
We had the Muppets over here, and obviously Sesame Street. What was the connection between the Muppets and Sesame Street? Which one came first?
I think the Muppets were first, but Sesame Street.
They migrated to Sesame Street because
Yeah, but it
they
wasn't
shared
all
some characters, didn't they? You had Kermit, Miss
Kermit
Piggy,
was on
Fonzie.
both shows, on both the Muppet Show and Sesame Street, but there were Miss Piggy, Fozzie, Gonzo, and Scooter, and Animal, and all the other Muppets from the Muppet Show. They weren't really on Sesame Street.
Okay. So it was just Kermit and
Yeah, Kermit was like a news reporter on Sesame Street.
Yeah. Oh, my favorite was always Grover. I loved Grover.
Yeah, Grover was kind of funny. And
Yeah,
then
I
they
liked
had,
him when he did the waiter, when he was a waiter in the restaurant, and he always used to get everything wrong. That was cool.
yeah, I don't think I ever saw any of those, but I remember there was like a two-headed monster, and then
Yeah,
there was Cookie Monster and Oscar the Grouch.
yeah.
What other characters did they have that were actual like Muppets? Yeah, Mr. Snuffleupagus was somebody in a costume.
Yeah.
And then
You had
there was
the Count.
there was Roosevelt Franklin and Bert and Ernie were some of the other Muppets, and then let's see who else. There was the one cowboy named Forgetful who would always forget everything.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
And then there was Tully. And then there was Elmo, who I think is one of those characters that a lot of more old school fans of Sesame Street, they just hated that character because I
Right.
think he got his own toy for Christmas called Tickle Me Elmo that almost
Yeah.
everybody wanted to get for Christmas one year.
Yeah, I wanted that. And I can't remember how old I was when that came out, but I was far too old for
Yeah, you would have been
cuddly
too old.
toys.
I was I was a teenager then, so you would have been a teenager, and my mom
Yeah.
just thought it was. My mom thought it was stupid that so many people wanted it for Christmas.
Yeah, I
Because
even wanted one. It's
because
a
I
good
think
toy.
it sold out everywhere, but everybody wanted to get it for Christmas.
It's very expensive now if you want to buy one in good condition. I think I've got more soft toys now than I had when I was a kid. I've got loads now.
Yeah, I had a bunch when I was a kid, but we had we had a couple dogs. First, we had Lady, who was a Sheltie Collie, and then she died, and then my brother John got like a pit bull he named Trixie, and Trixie would just tear things up. She would rip stuff
Right.
apart. And Tree Theodore has a question for you. He's asking, how does Monkeyboy arrive at the right voice for each of his characters?
I'm not sure that I ever have arrived at the right voice. Um, the Skeletor impression that I do is not particularly well. It's consistent, but it's not very good. I can say very short things as Skeletor quite well, but when I try and do the full episode, it tends to tail off. So I start the sentences with yeah, but by the time I finish the sentence, I'm almost at my normal register. So it's quite difficult to maintain that the whole time. And actually, if I'm honest, I think that's a little bit difficult to listen to. So in a way, I'm quite not lucky. It's not by judgment, but it is more luck, I guess. Because I think if I spoke like Skeletor the whole time and it was accurate, I think it would be difficult to listen to. So in a way, I'm kind of glad that I don't do an authentic Skeletor impression.
Yeah,
Um,
well, you're British though, so your Skeletor sounds more British than the
yeah,
original was very American sounding. And I
yeah,
had
yeah.
to I had to tell my mother that you're British. She couldn't tell that you have a British accent, but
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I suppose the Britishness does come through. Um, and Whiplash, my voice for Whiplash doesn't sound anything like the cartoon. In the cartoon, he's very much like Skeletor. What shall we do, Skeletor? He's like that. But my Whiplash is my Whiplash sounds more like Scooby Doo. But it suits the character better, and again, it's easier to listen to. I think if Whiplash was speaking like he does in the cartoon, I don't think it would be very easy on the ear. And also, it doesn't really fit with his character so well because of the character that I've developed for Whiplash in being a sort of overly concerned, uptight, nervous character. The voice that I've developed for him kind of suits that more. And I'm still waiting for someone to comment on one of my videos and say, why does Whiplash sound nothing like the cartoon? Um, but I think it suits the character a bit more if he's sort of bungling and Skeletor, what are we going to do? I think that suits that suits the nature of him a bit better. Um,
yeah, and
and
I
go on.
hate sorry to interrupt, but retro blasting used to do these little skits called Zodiac and Orange Chairs,
Yeah,
where
yeah,
the
yeah. I remember
where
that.
that character had like a talk show. And I found out he could do the voice just like that the cartoon character. I thought that was kind of funny because the way Michael does it, it just sounds so passive aggressive.
Yeah, yeah. No, I remember that. It was called was it called In Orange Chairs or something like that?
Yeah, because it was like the throne
The
chair from
throne. Yeah,
the Castle Grayskull. So
yeah, yeah, yeah. I remember that. Yeah, that's going back a couple of years now, but that's yeah, he was doing that when I first started getting into the channel. Yeah, yeah, that was cool.
and
But no, it's
Michael can do a great Skeletor impression,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
but
His Skeletor's good.
he can also do Cobra Commander, but he doesn't do that as much. And then
Yeah, yeah.
he can do James Stewart.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. That's
But
good.
Michael had lived in England for a while as a teenager, so he
Yeah,
was like
that's right.
southern from the south, so he lost his southern accent being in the UK.
Right. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, he does like a lot of UK stuff, doesn't he?
Yeah, he gets really into it,
Yeah.
but you were
Um,
talking about something to do with He-Man and the Masters of the Universe.
um, can't remember. I've got a
Well,
few more characters that I might want to use in on my Skeletor channel, but the main two are Skeletor and Whiplash. Occasionally, Beastman or Trapjaw makes an appearance. I've got a few others that I plan to use in the future, but I'm I've got a special episode coming up in just over a month, in about 6 weeks, because I'll be on the 50th episode of Skeletalk. So I'm going to do a special episode with He-Man and Skeletor. They're going to put aside their differences and host a show together.
So He-Man and Skeletor together?
Yep. They've agreed to put their differences aside and do a show together. So we'll see how that goes. I've got a feeling Skeletor might turn up drunk for that one, but I'm not sure yet. I haven't quite decided yet.
I remember the guys at Midnight's Edge, Tom Connors and the boss man Andre. They're both big Masters of the Universe fans. So Tom had done these little like He-Man cartoons for either Midnight's Edge or Midnight's Edge After Dark channel, and one he did of Skeletor with Beastman. He said, "Hey, Beastman, do you have any issues getting shit on your fur?" No. Okay, wipe my ass then.
Excellent. Oh, cool.
Yeah, that one was kind of nasty.
They're good characters though, because they're very simple, and people know them, and they're not one-dimensional, but they're not so complicated that you can't get across their character very simply. I think they were very, very well done. Each character had its own little personality that kind of stayed within the boundaries. I think it was a good show in that respect. And I'm not surprised people still have a fondness for it, today. It hasn't stood up too well to the test of time, but I can certainly think of cartoons in the 80s that seem a lot worse now. I mean, I tried to watch, or I did in fact watch, several episodes of Mask, because I bought the Mask box set with a complete all 3 series in, and some of that was difficult to watch. I must admit, it was quite challenging. Some of the animation was poorly done. Some of the scripts were very flimsy. The dialogue was very cheesy. Whereas Masters of the Universe, to a greater or lesser extent, it stands up better than I would have expected. It is simplistic and very daft, but I think it works. And I think Masters of the Universe works because of Skeletor, if I'm honest. He's the quintessential bad guy. And I think any cartoon series is really only as good as its main villain. If you haven't got a good villain, you haven't really got a show. I don't think Dungeons and Dragons would have been anywhere near as good without Venger.
Yeah. But unfortunately, that was a show that ended too quickly before they could really resolve anything.
Yeah, it never really, it didn't tie up, did it?
Yeah, it just turned into Gilligan's Island, basically, which Gilligan's Island got canceled after the 3rd season, but luckily with Gilligan's Island, they made a reunion movie. In fact, they made like 3 of them.
Okay, I've heard of Gilligan's Island, but I don't know what it is. We didn't get that in the UK, I don't think.
Yeah, that was a sitcom from the 60s, where it's a skipper and his first mate. They take 5 passengers on what's supposed to be a 3-hour tour on their boat, and the boat gets caught in a storm, and they get shipwrecked on an island. So they spend almost every episode trying to get it off the island, only to keep getting stuck on there.
Oh, okay. Is it so it is a sitcom, is it?
Yeah.
Okay. And it is who's Gilligan? Is that the name of the island, or is that the name of the skipper?
No, the skipper, Jonas Grimby's the skipper, and Gilligan was the first mate. So he was just this really clumsy guy. And I remember getting a book on that series. I think 2 of the other actors from the show wrote parts of it. Yeah, I think most of the actors from that show are dead.
Really?
I know, yeah. I think the widow and the son of Gilligan, yeah, his widow and his son, I think they're still alive. And then, yeah, the rich couple, the Howells, they died a long time ago. And then the skipper, I think, was the next one that died. And then Gilligan died. And then for the longest time, it was just the 2 young girls, Ginger and Mary Ann. But then Mary Ann supposedly died from COVID. But I don't know if it was necessarily COVID or if they just put it down COVID. I think it was more like maybe just natural causes and old age.
Right.
But it's funny that the actress who played Ginger could not get along with the rest of the cast, and now, even before the actress who played Mary Ann died, she really wasn't even trying to talk to anybody else from the show, but now she's saying all these nice things about the show now.
Right.
That just annoys me to death.
So she didn't get on with the cast when she was in the show. She didn't get on with them.
No. In fact, they had to replace her for the reunion movies. They had to get another actress to replace her because she kept changing her mind about being in it, so she got fired from her agent. And then
right,
they got a replacement for the first 2 movies, or maybe it was just the first TV movie, and then they got another one. And then Cassandra Peterson, who was the horror movie host, Elvira, she's a redhead in real life, so she almost got to be the third. She almost replaced her as Ginger, as the third Ginger, but for some reason it didn't happen.
Huh. I remember Elvira.
Yeah, well, I don't know if she's a redhead in real life still, now that she's older. So the last photo I saw of her, she looked more like a brunette. But that's probably because her hair is gray, and I guess she tried to recolor it red, and somehow it came out darker.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Oh, I found it interesting. I mean, this is not news. Everyone knows this, but I did find it interesting that George Peppard and Mr. T really didn't like each other.
Yeah, I didn't know about that. I didn't know about that.
Yeah, it was. I mean, there was times when George Peppard wouldn't speak to Mr. T, and he would speak to other people to get them to talk to Mr. T. George Peppard was very threatened by Mr. T's stardom, really.
Well, I think George Peppard had a bunch of movie roles before.
Yeah, he did. He did. He was very popular. He was a good-looking, well-paid, well-respected actor, and took the craft very seriously, from what I can understand. And he was, I mean, films like Breakfast at Tiffany's and things like this, he was very well known, and he wanted to be the star of the A-Team. And when the viewers sort of all got behind Mr. T, and BA was the main draw for the show, George Peppard was really not happy about it at all. He was really pissed off.
Yeah, well, I would think that they couldn't get along with Murdoch because he just seemed like an annoying character on the show, and then the actor who played Murdoch had the recurring role on Star Trek: The Next Generation as Lieutenant Barclay, and then that character got moved to another Star Trek show called Star Trek Voyager, and it just seemed
Murdoch
like
was in Star Trek.
Yeah, Star Trek: The Next Generation. He had a recurring role playing Lieutenant Barclay,
Oh,
and then
okay.
he played the same character on Star Trek Voyager. But he seemed like he wasn't as much of an annoying character on Star Trek as he was on the A-Team. But it seemed like a character that you might like for what that. He seemed to be more of a likable character, but then everybody else seemed to get annoyed by.
Oh. No, I didn't mind him on the A-Team. I remember when I was a kid, we used to play the A-Team, at break time, or I think you call it recess. We would all go out and play the A-Team, and I often wanted to be Murdoch.
Well, it
I
seemed
thought
like
he was cool.
it seemed like he was the one character that I don't know, for some reason. I mean, they liked him, but at the same time, they couldn't stand him.
I know that most episodes he had to be broken out of some sort of mental institution or something like that. They had to go and get him because he'd been sectioned again.
Well, I remember one episode, I think he got shot and he was in a coma like most of the episode.
I don't remember that.
Yeah, it seemed like there was one episode where he got shot and he was in the hospital in a coma, and they were. I can't remember who it was. If it was Dirk Benedict's character or if it was George Peppard's character. It seems like it was one of those two guys was all bitching at him. Oh, you better get well.
I don't remember that.
Yeah,
I'd like to watch MacGyver again. I remember enjoying that.
And that
MacGyver was basically the A-Team with one man, wasn't it?
I guess you could say it was like the A-Team. But I think with the A-Team, it was a small group of fugitives running from the government, or who was always somebody hiring them to go on these missions for them.
Yeah.
But I think Murdoch was the one member of the group. He wasn't some sort of like fugitive running from the government. And then Amy Allen was the one female character that was part of the group. And I heard that I think she like blackmailed the A-Team into taking her with them for the longest time.
Okay. I don't remember. I need to go back and watch those really again. I watched the first couple of seasons a few years ago, and again, it just it isn't quite as good as you remember it. You know, I mean, when I was a kid, I loved the A-Team. I absolutely loved it.
Yeah, well, I found out they had a different actor playing Dirk Benedict's character for the first episode.
Yeah.
I didn't know that, so I never saw that original pilot episode.
Yeah. The pilot had a different guy.
And the Gilligan's Island was the same way. There was more than one pilot episode for Gilligan's Island, but
Okay.
the original pilot for Gilligan's Island didn't air until the 90s. It aired on TBS, the original pilot. It had the same Gilligan, and it had the same skipper, and then the rich couple, Mr. and Mrs. Howell, they were the same, but they had a different actor playing the professor. And then Mary Ann, the one dark-haired girl, was this dumb blonde named Bunny, and then Ginger, I think, was, instead of being the sexy redhead, was the brunette
Right.
in the original
Okay.
pilot. But then
What sort of comedy is Gilligan's Island? Is it slapstick, or is it?
It's, yeah, I guess you could call it slapstick comedy, but it's the way it was done, so silly. It was one of those shows that got really popular with young kids in the 80s when it was rerun. So it turns it into this little cult classic show, more for younger people.
Okay.
And then there were 2 cartoon series for it on Saturday mornings. There was the New Adventures of Gilligan, which was on in the 70s, and then there was Gilligan's Planet, which aired for one season in the early 80s. And that was the one where they had almost all the actors returning, but they had the actress who was Mary Ann doing both Mary Ann and Ginger's voices. But now she had her hair changed from redhead to white. And they explained that they got off the island using a rocket, but now they were stranded on an alien planet. Hence, it was now called Gilligan's Planet.
Oh, okay. Weird.
But the New Adventures of
I wonder if there's any stuff on YouTube.
Yeah, there might be. The New Adventures of Gilligan cartoon, that had them still on an island.
Right. Yeah, I'll have to try and look up some of that, because I've heard of it plenty of times, but I've got no reference for it because I've never seen any of it.
Yeah, it was an American show, so it was one of those shows. Well, it was by the same guy who created the Brady Bunch, so.
Okay.
I don't know if you ever saw any reruns of the Brady Bunch.
No, I don't think we had that either. Not to my knowledge. I mean, maybe before I was born, perhaps. I don't know.
Yeah, that was from 69 to, I think, 74, but it was one that was rerun back in late 70s, early 80s.
Yeah, no, I don't recall that being on, but it might have been. I don't know. We didn't really get that many American syndicated shows over here. I think we had stuff like Little House on the Prairie or Highway to Heaven. We had stuff like that.
Yeah, those were like family shows.
Yeah. And we had The Incredible Hulk and what else? A-Team, Knight Rider, Airwolf, stuff like that. But I don't remember any US sitcoms.
Well, you would have had probably the British versions of them. Like there was in the 70s, we had Archie Bunker, All in the Family, which was an American version of a British sitcom.
Oh, okay.
It was an American remake of a British sitcom, and then the 90s NBC sitcom Friends. I think that was a remake of a British sitcom.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I don't know what they would have been.
Oh, there was one British sitcom we got here in the 90s, Absolutely Fabulous.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Comedy Central aired that here in the States.
Yeah, that was quite good.
And then that one, like, something like Saturday Night Live, The Kids in the Hall was this Canadian sketch comedy show that got shown on Comedy Central.
Right.
That they recently, I think, got back together and started doing a new version of that show.
Right. Yeah, I've heard of that as well, but I've not seen it. I remember program I used to really like. I think it's Canadian. Degrassi Junior High.
Yeah, that was something that it's been on cable here in the States.
I used to like that.
It seemed like a lot of those shows, if it was something either from the UK or Canada, it would get moved. It would air on cable here.
Okay.
Like that one show, You Can't Do That on Television, which was like a kid's version of Saturday Night Live. That was a Canadian show, and I think that's how singer Alanis Morissette got started. She was just a child actress on that
Wow.
show. It was the show where you would see like young kids. They would get like a thing of slime would get dropped on them, or
Okay.
thing of water would get dumped on them at times.
Yeah, there was a lot of that in the in the late 80s, early 90s. There
Well,
were a
I
lot
think
of TV shows or kids TV shows that were involved slime or some kind of goo.
yeah, it started with You Can't Do That on television in the late 70s up through the 80s, and then I think the kids game show Double Dare had people getting slimed and all this
Yeah,
gross
yeah,
stuff on them. But
yeah. We had Double
the
Dare here as well, an
yeah,
English version.
the host of that, Mark Summers, he has obsessive compulsive disorder really bad, so he always had to be sure that he never got slime or anything on him.
Right. Okay.
So he always made sure he was kept clean, that he was never gotten slimed or anything.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah, we had Double Dare here, a British version, but it was called Double Dare. I guess it was the same similar thing. Kids used to have to do, answer trivia questions and then do little physical challenges of some description. And
Yeah,
then
and
at
I
the
think
end, they
yeah,
go
at the
on.
end they what?
They used to have like several different things they had to do. Like they would have to go in a pool full of slime or custard or whatever and find little tokens or
Yeah, it seemed
um,
like they would have to go through like a bucket of like mud just to get this flag out.
yeah, yeah, yeah. That was quite cool. Um, yeah, I quite like Double Dare. That was all right. It used to be. I've got a feeling it was its own show, but it was tacked on to the end of a Saturday morning show, and it used to be on at the end of that. I think. Um,
Maybe in the UK, but here it was its own show on Nickelodeon. But first they had Double Dare, and then there was Family Double Dare, and then there was Super Sloppy Double Dare, which aired
oh,
on a local channel, but that really didn't last long. But I think that
okay,
was because the host has obsessive compulsive disorder so bad. I think he just couldn't handle it. I don't
really?
think.
Wow.
And it just wasn't so much him not wanting to get slime or anything, any kind of dirty crud on him. He had other issues outside of that, I think
Right.
he had to deal with. So
Okay.
I don't think he was doing that well for the longest time.
Oh. Oh. Yeah, it's weird, isn't it? Some things really translate well to another audience, and sometimes they don't. I mean, if you look at some of the Japanese game shows, they are just so insane, and I don't know if they would work in a Western in a on Western television, because some of them are just so weird, aren't they?
Yeah, and there was that one '90s game show called The Weakest Link that I think started out in the UK, but then it got brought over to the States.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Was it the same presenter? Did she go over to the States and
Yeah,
present it over
it was the
there?
same. It was the same lady. It was this British lady, but she was somebody you just could not stand.
Yeah, she's bloody awful. I'm trying to think of her name now.
I want to say Anne Robinson or something like
Yeah,
that.
that's it. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Anne Robinson. Yeah, absolutely awful. Um, but that was part of the. I guess, that was part of the appeal of the show, was she was so mean to everyone. That was part of her shtick, wasn't it?
Yeah, but my brother-in-law couldn't stand her. He would be all, "Oh, I just want to slap that lady."
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Everyone in the UK was the same, but I think that's why people tuned in, because they just wanted to see her being a bitch to everyone. Um, yeah, yeah, yeah. Uh, yeah, Anne Robinson. I don't know if that's still going, that show. I've no idea. I
I
mean, I
don't
haven't
think
watched.
it is. It was one of those shows in the '90s. There was The Weakest Link, and then there was Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, and then there was
Yeah.
the one reality show on CBS, Survivor.
Okay. Yeah, I don't think we had Survivor.
Well,
Um,
I think you probably had Who Wants to Be a Millionaire over in the UK
yeah, I
or
think it
somewhere.
started here. I think it might have started here. Um, Perhaps. I know it went over to India, and several other countries picked it up. Um, but I've got a feeling it first started in Britain. I could be wrong, but I
Yeah,
haven't watched TV in Britain for about 30 years, probably. Yeah, about
yeah,
30 years. So
yeah,
I'm
we
not
still
really
have
up on it.
Jeopardy here, even though the host of it died of cancer. They got a different host to host it.
Okay. Is that the show where they give you the answers and you have to tell them what the question is?
Yeah, it's like this story involves such and such, such and such, and they'd have to respond in the name of the question. They'd have to be like, "What is Oliver Twist?" They'd
Right,
have to
okay.
they'd have to respond like that.
Ah.
Or,
So
and
they give you the information, and then you have to answer by asking the right question.
yeah, you have to respond as a question. You can't in the form of a question. You can't, like, if they tell you something about Star Wars, you can't just say Star Wars. You have to say, "What is Star Wars?"
Okay. Okay. I'm surprised that didn't come over to the UK, because that sounds like a very good sort of concept for a show, quite a good format for a show. But we didn't have that, which surprises me, because Jeopardy's been on in the States forever, hasn't it?
Yeah, and then there's The Price is Right, which is always on, and during the daytime, that's always something that people will watch if they're homesick.
Yeah, we had that. We had The Price is Right.
And then there's Wheel of Fortune.
Yep, we had that one.
And then Nickelodeon had this other kids game show called Finders Keepers, where it was always two kids having to go in to a different room in a fake house, searching through furniture to
Oh,
find things.
yeah, we had that. Was it like a big set? It was like a big doll's house kind of
Yeah, it
set.
was like a
You
big
could
old
see all the
doll's
different rooms.
house. So
Yeah.
they had to search through everything in a certain room in this big old life-size dollhouse.
Yeah, we had that as well. We had that. A British version of that.
Yeah, that didn't last as long as Double Dare, because Double Dare lasted for what seemed like forever.
Right. Yeah. That's weird, isn't it? That some of those shows we have the similar shows in common, or I guess they sold the rights to Britain, or Britain sold the rights to the US, or whichever way round it was. But there are some things that just didn't cross over for some reason.
Yep.
Yeah. Huh. Cool. So what are your plans for the rest of the day? Anything exciting going on?
Well, it's 3:08 in the afternoon, and we have been in a heat wave lately, so it's not like I would want to walk anywhere. I mean, I could walk to like a Walgreens drugstore or CVS, but in this heat, I think it's just too hot to walk anywhere.
Right.
And my
Yeah,
mom did
we're
some shopping.
supposed to, we've got a heat wave coming in
Yeah, my mom did shopping
the end of the week.
this morning.
Oh, okay.
But let's see, yeah, it's supposed to get up to 98 today, but it's 93 degrees right now.
Right. Okay.
And then 98 tomorrow, 100 Friday, 100 Saturday, then 96 Sunday.
Okay. That sounds pretty high. I don't know what that is in Celsius. We all our temperatures are in Celsius over here.
And then I think next week it's down to the mid to lower 90s, so it'll cool down slightly next week.
Right. So what is a good temperature out there? 70s, 80s?
Maybe 70s, but even if it's just in the 70s, it can get a little bit windy at times.
Right. Okay. Yeah, apparently there's going to be a heat wave here at the end of the week, I think. We've got some really hot weather coming.
Yeah, we've had a heat wave lately, but I'm not too worried about it. It seems like whenever there's a heat wave, it's either it always seems to be another state that gets it worse than California, and if somebody in California gets it bad, it's always somebody further north of where I am, or it's somebody down south of me.
Right.
It never seems to. I think we had like maybe a few power outages when I was younger here, but for the most part, it just.
So where is Modesto in California? Is it kind of central, or?
It's Northern California, so the Bay Area and Sacramento are north of me, and then Hollywood, Los Angeles, that's to the south. So it would be a 2-hour drive to get to San Francisco, the Bay Area, or Sacramento, and then to get to Los Angeles and Hollywood, that would be a 5 to 6 hour drive.
Really? Wow.
Yes.
That's crazy. It's strange. It's hard for me to get my head around how big your country is, because obviously I'm from a tiny island, but it's all kind of comparative. I mean, to me, Manchester is a long way away, but
Yeah,
that's
well,
probably your
England is
state
like
probably is.
is a big old island, though. Even though it's small compared to the states, it's like probably the size of one state.
Yeah, yeah, but it's hard for me to get my head around the size of your country, because I mean your state is probably, as nearly as big as my entire country.
Yeah, and my sister lives really far up north in Crescent City. That's where they filmed Endor for Return of the Jedi, where they had the
Oh,
redwood
cool.
trees. So
Nice.
that is an 8 to 9 hour drive just to get to her house. So I
Wow.
hated having when I was a kid, we would always go there. It would be 8 to 9 hour drives to get to her
Yeah,
house.
yeah. Wow. Yeah, it's crazy, really, isn't it? Um,
Mhm.
I mean, you probably in probably in maybe 12 hours you can drive com from one end of England to the other. Um, it's maybe a little more, but um, yeah, and that's not including Scotland. That's just for England. I've never been to Scotland. Um,
Well, isn't Scotland like a separate island?
no, that's Ireland.
Okay, because I know like France and England, there's there's just a little bit of water in between.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. France is probably, well, if you lived in the south of England, where
Mhm.
I was born, you're actually closer to France than you are to Scotland.
Yeah, and
Um,
I found out something really interesting about the French language over in Europe. It's different than the way it is in Canada. I found out in the French part of Canada, they speak a more pure form of the French language, whereas in Europe, it's more diluted to where it's British English mixed with French. So it's not
really?
pure. It's not as pure as it is in Canada.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's weird.
So I
Um,
think, yeah, I think it's like the Cajun French language we have, like in Louisiana, New Orleans area, is the
yeah,
same type
yeah,
of French they have in like Quebec.
yeah, yeah. Ah, it's weird, isn't it? I've never been to France either.
Yeah,
A lot
I've
of
never
English
been.
people have been. It's very close to England, so it's a convenient place for some people to go on holiday and stuff. But I've never been there. I mean, there are people in England that just go to France for the day. They'll just hop on the ferry or the Eurostar, go over, spend the day, and then come back again. But I've never been there.
You ever seen this movie before?
What's that?
What's a 70s drive-in movie?
No,
And Soon the Darkness.
no, not seen that.
Well, it's kind of funny the way I've heard it described. Yeah, the lead actress Pamela Franklin, she's British, but both her and her husband became US citizens, and now they run a bookshop somewhere in Hollywood with one of
Oh,
their sons. Well, it's
oh,
mainly one of their sons and the dad run it.
Okay.
But the mom and the other
I've never
son
even heard of them.
sometimes help out. But
Okay.
yeah, this is the movie Pamela Franklin did back in the 70s.
Oh.
And I heard secondhand that she described this movie as Dykes on Bikes. Yeah, her and this other actress play these two British girls. They go on this little road trip on bicycles in France. So, but then they get separated, and I think they get stalked by some psycho.
Okay. Ah.
Yeah, two young British nurses bicycling through the desolate French countryside. Mysterious stranger on a lonely stretch of road. The women become separated, and soon after, one of them disappears. Now, the remaining girl, alone and frightened, begins an increasingly desperate search for answers among the strangely uncooperative locals. Where is her friend? Was there a murder? And as the darkness approaches, is the killer now stalking her?
Oh. That sounds
And
all right.
it doesn't look like either actress is involved with this. I know sometimes Pamela Franklin will do audio commentary and will do phone interviews, but she doesn't seem to do on-camera interviews anymore.
Oh.
I guess it's since she retired, she's been a wife and a mom. She doesn't like to get on camera anymore.
Right. Oh. And it's called And Soon Comes the Darkness.
And Soon the Darkness.
And Soon the Darkness.
Yeah, these two young British nurses are just on a road trip in France, riding their bikes.
Right. Okay. So is that a British production or a French
it's
production?
a British production, but it's Studio Canal, which is there's Studio Canal in the UK and there's Studio Canal here.
Yeah.
But it says EMI presentation, and I think EMI was something. I think that was something like Hammer Studios. Might have been an offshoot of Hammer.
What year was it?
70.
Right. Wow.
Yeah, I still haven't watched all this. I've seen the trailer for it.
It looks like you haven't even opened that.
Yeah, I've got a DVD of this, and I have the Blu-ray. Yeah, I think there was like a DVD and a Blu-ray years ago, and then it went out of print, and Kino Lorber got the rights. So I haven't opened this one yet.
Yeah.
I have so many Blu-rays and DVDs just sitting around the house I still need to watch.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, I've got about maybe 70 or so that I need to get around to watching. But a lot of them I have seen before. Like you, I buy films that I've seen before sometimes. But I must have about 70 or 80 still to watch.
Yeah, and Tree Theodore's in the chat still. He says Modesto is the setting of Lucas's American Graffiti, but I think it was filmed in nearby Petaluma, and he's asking if you could visit any film setting, which one would it be?
Ooh, it's a good question.
Yeah, I don't really know Tree Theodore.
What was the question? Any film setting?
Yeah, visit any film setting, which one would it be?
I'd quite like to go to somewhere like Alaska. I mean, I don't know where they filmed The Thing, but I'd quite like to go somewhere like that. Yeah, that's a good question. I'd quite like to go to one of those places that you have in the States, like Death Valley, somewhere like that, with the big, with the big rock formations and the desert. I quite like those. I quite like that, but it's a good question.
Yeah.
There are so many places in the States I'd like to visit.
Mm-hmm.
I I mean, I would need to come on a visit, and I'd need to be there for 3 months to
Mm-hmm.
travel around everywhere, because there are so many places that I've seen on TV and movies, and I think, "Oh, that looks really, really cool. I'd love to go there." Um, for different reasons. I'd like to go to Chicago. I'd like to go to Seattle. I'd like to go to New York, Los Angeles. Um,
Yeah, but New York is not the place. I mean, one time it was a better place to be at, but now it's not that. It's like California isn't really as livable. Neither state is as livable of a place anymore. Really, it's just everything's gotten too political to where the politicians just favor one side over the other. So too many people get screwed and feel forced out into moving to another state.
right,
But this is my home. I was born here. It's not someplace I could leave.
right.
But we've been going for over 2 hours, and I had to go to use the bathroom, so I don't know how much longer you'd want to go for, because
Well,
I've
I
got
think I should probably think about getting to bed soon, because I need to be up in the morning because I help to teach English to foreign asylum seekers.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm doing that in the morning. So I should probably think about getting to bed.
Mm-hmm. So thank you for joining me again, Monkeyboy, and
Yeah, no problem. No problem, Tim.
thank
Thanks
you,
for inviting me. It's been really good. It's been good to chat, and it was nice to speak to the other guys earlier on. It's
yeah,
been really
and
good.
thank you to those who were in the chat, and thank you to Lester and Ono or Ono, who were also on camera with us earlier.
Mm-hmm.
And Tim's Talk was supposed to have joined us, but I guess something else came up with him. I don't know. He showed up in the chat for like a few seconds and then he disappeared. I guess he just was too busy with something else. I know he has his own YouTube channel, so I don't know. I know, like, late last night, he had people bugging him, asking, oh, if he could live stream last night, and he was really busy last night, but he still live streamed late last night. So I don't
Oh, okay.
know what happened with him. So yeah, thank you for joining me again, Monkeyboy.
Oh, you're very welcome. Thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure. Thank you, dude.
And thanks again to everyone else that joined us in Streamyard and in the chat room. So we're gonna end here, and maybe we'll be live again next week. I don't know.
Cool. Just give me a shout whenever, man.
Okay. So bye, Monkeyboy, and
Cool.
bye to
Cool.
whoever
Thanks
stuck
so much.
with us this long. Bye.
Talk to you soon. Bye.
Mm-hmm. So okay, good. End broadcast.